speech. I'm glad he did it. I don't think it did a thing with independents, might even have turned off some independents. But ultimately, when you actually look at it, it's really a do no harm speech because he didn't make things harder for his fellow Republicans.
Senator, you concur?
I sat through 18 of those, and all of them were too long, even the shorter ones. Usually they're written by the agencies who want their little program addressed.
All the longest speeches now are Trump, Clinton, Trump, Clinton, Trump, Clinton, Trump, Clinton. I'm not saying something, I'm just saying
something. Well, we have all their voters now, Chuck, so it only stands to reason we should have their speech link.
But I was there for the Joe Wilson, you lie moment.
Yes, I was there for that too.
Right now.
Almost quaint.
And that was the president saying, you lie. But I couldn't help but think, these rarely move the needle one way or the other. But if I were a Republican in a swing district that is full of people worried about the economy and affordability, I would think, you had one job. You had one job, is just to express a little sympathy, a little empathy for those who are on hard times rather than say, we've solved it, we won, we conquered. Mission accomplished, and that's going to be difficult.
Well, one comparison, of course, that people have made is to former President Joe Biden, right? Who, of course, spent much of his term trying to use good economic numbers to convince Americans that things were actually better than their own budgets, their own pocketbooks made them feel. We noticed last night that actually what President Trump brought to the table on some of these economic issues, let's just say it resembled what President Biden brought to the table. We'll show you.
I inherited an economy is on the brink. Now our economy is literally the envy of the world.
A short time ago, we were a dead country. Now we are the hottest country anywhere in the world, the hottest.
15 million new jobs in just 3 years, a record, a record. Unemployment at 50-year lows.
More Americans are working today than at any time in the history of our country. Think about that. Any time in the history of our country.
I want to cap prescription drug costs at $2,000 a year for everyone.
I'm also ending the wildly inflated cost of prescription drugs like has never happened before.
For millions of renters, we're cracking down on big landlords who use antitrust law, who break antitrust laws by price fixing and driving up rents.
We want homes for people, not for corporations. Corporations are doing just fine.
I mean, Scott Jennings, can you tell the difference?
Yeah, one tells the truth and one lies his ass off. I mean, look.
They both said the same thing.
Here's the bottom line.
They said the same thing.
When the president says it, this president, he's telling the truth. He has made amazing strides on prescription drugs, which, by the way, is a huge issue. It's not, surprising that a president would talk about that or talk about the good things that are happening in the economy. What the president did last night was it was a night of contrasts. He drew the brightest lines you could draw between the two parties. And the trouble with subtlety is that not everyone gets it, and the president understands that. And when he goaded those Democrats to sit on their hands, and they couldn't even affirm that their highest
that wasn't subtle,
is to protecting the American people, when he got them to sit there and they wouldn't even stand up for that, he made the point. I'm for America, and I don't know what they are for, and that'll be the most unforgettable part of that speech.
I don't know that was subtle, so subtle that it was lost on people.
Well, I also think that no one will remember this speech, and I will say that that was a stunt to appeal to the 80%, because now he's fallen a little bit with his base, and I think Chalian said this yesterday. It'll be interesting to see whether his speech is targeted at the base or whether it is targeted towards the rest of Americans to get his approval up ahead of a midterm election. And it was very clear that it was targeted towards his base versus addressing the problems and the issues that every Republican in a swing district is going to have to deal with a very low approval rating. And so at the end of the day, I don't think it helped anyone, which means Democrats will still win in the midterm elections regardless of this speech.
I interviewed 8 Republican senators today, several of them on the ballot this November. Every single person was thrilled. They love the focus on
because he didn't.
Yeah, Nebraska. Okay. Talked to Ohio. Talked to Husted today. Talked to Dan Sullivan from Alaska, who was thrilled with the energy stuff. So yeah, these are people who are going to face the voters, and they all had things in the president's speech last night that were good for their state. Whether it was Husted talking about manufacturing in Ohio, Sullivan talking about energy in Alaska. I mean, they were all picking the things out. But I'll tell you something else. The public safety stuff, according to them, that's resonating with their people back in their home states.
Senator Flake, I mean, reality check here. If you're a sitting senator, you're running for re-election, and you're looking at the president's poll numbers, any president, whatever party you're in, and the approval rating is down where Donald Trump's is, how are you thinking about any of this?
No, it's going to be tough, obviously. The economy, that's everything. Foreign policy, obviously, if there's some big happening in Iran or whatever, that's going to matter. But it's the economy. That's what's going to differ. And the president has some good things to say. I mean, what Republicans have done on taxes and regulation and environment for a growing economy, Democrats can't match that. They really can't. And they ought to focus on that.
Yeah, although he
but then
didn't really
it gets back to
talk
tariffs,
about
and that's
awful.
awful.
I mean,
yes.
Some of the biggest policy hits in the president's speech last night were actually pretty populist. I mean, no tax on tips, no tax on overtime. I mean, there were definitely moments when I thought, I would have actually expected a Democrat to have announced those policies.
Yeah, and I do think on the public safety thing, as Scott mentioned, that is a problem if Democrats sit on their hands on that. They can take this too far. Yes, ICE went far too far in Minneapolis, and Americans just say, that's not who we are. Mm-hmm. But having said that, we go back to the mistakes that Joe Biden made, mistakes Democrats made in terms of defunding the police and going too far there, and they risk doing that as well here.
Yeah, and I think they've learned from some of those mistakes. You have heard, especially those who are going to be eyeing and toying with 2028, a lot of people have gone back and said, we need a secure border. What Joe Biden did was terrible. But what we don't want is we don't want to kill U.S. citizens on the streets, and we need some sort of policy that allows people to stay here in the country, and especially children and families who've been here for a long time. And so Democrats have started to go, they're more moderate on immigration. You don't hear them so much talking about, progressive immigration policies because people understand that Democrats have lost trust on that issue.
Whoa. Sochi, abolish ICE.
Democrats are
abolish
not for
CBP.
abolish ICE. I'm sorry. They're not.
I hate to be the person to break the news to you. That's where your party is.
That is not where the party is at all.
It's where your candidates are, and it's where the candidates who are winning primaries are right now.
I will say that my home state of Texas, what you will hear from candidates there is essentially that the border